There was a time in my life that I spent a lot of time watching Hell's Kitchen. And the one thing I learned from watching Hell's Kitchen, risotto is hard. It was so traumatic watching these people make risotto that I spent years saying I can't make risotto. I got over myself, started making risotto, and it's really not that hard. You just have to be very prepared and very patient. And today we are making a mushroom and asparagus risotto you and your family are going to absolutely love. And when you're done with it, they're going to look at you and they're going to think you're a badass because you made risotto. So let's get started.
But is it going to be Gordon Ramsay approved?
Well, don't give us pressure now, Rich. It's going to be really, really good. I'm sure Gordon would love it. Gordon's never happy, let's be clear. So for this recipe, you're going to be spending 90% of your time in front of the stove stirring. And whenever you have a recipe like that, you want to get everything prepared in advance, get your mise en place, everything in its place. So that's what I have done. I've measured out the things that don't need chopping, white wine, I've got the rice, and I've got thyme, which really doesn't need chopping. Nutritional yeast because we're making a dairy-free risotto. Typically there's cheese in there. Now I could use some goat cheese, some pecorino romano, but I really do actually like it with the nutritional yeast, so it'll be 100% dairy-free. Everything else you see up here, I've got to do something too, so I'm just going to start with the easiest first. I've got 3 cloves of garlic here. Need to mince it, so I am going to take my favorite Xylus garlic press, and it's going to make quick work of this. I could peel them and mince it myself, but you know, I really don't want to. I got enough to do. Okay, next up are the shallots. If you don't want to use shallots, you can't get them or don't like them, you can use yellow onion. That would be perfectly fine.
What's the difference between using a shallot and a yellow onion?
A shallot's going to give a little bit softer onion flavor, and it even has a hint of sweetness to it, I think. It's not so in your face, and you're also going to have smaller pieces too because shallots are smaller than onions.
I like that part best.
Okay. This shallot's got issues, but we're going to use them anyways. Okay, now it's time for the mushrooms, the shiitake mushrooms to be exact. Now, you could use some button mushrooms, you could use some baby bellas, or any of those, but the shiitakes, in my opinion, are the best. And I always take the stems off of them, and I don't slice them, I just rip them apart. And they're this type of mushroom, you can't really do this with a baby bell. But with the shiitakes you can. They're almost like fabric-like. They're kind of crazy. But they're so delicious and they're wonderful in a risotto. So I am going to just rip these into small kind of bite-sized pieces. And no, like all mushrooms, they are going to reduce down considerably once we start cooking them. Okay, we got the shiitake. I have the shiitakes all ripped up into little pieces. Now it looks like a lot of mushrooms for this risotto, but like I said earlier, they're going to reduce down considerably when we cook them. So my next step is about 2 tablespoons of parsley. I've got all my lovely parsley leaves off of the stems, so now I'm going to chop them up pretty finely. And lastly, the asparagus. I want small pieces of asparagus. So typically asparagus will tell you where it wants to break. That one was a little ornery. There. That's where your best asparagus is. So I'm going to snap all these and then look and see what size I have and probably chop them again. I have my asparagus all broken down. It's perfectly fine. I really just wanted the tips anyway, so I'm not too worried that I didn't get all the stalk. And I'm going to cut them in small pieces now. I want bite-sized pieces of asparagus. And I'm going to get them in this bowl. So now I have all my mise en place done. I'm going to take everything I need to make this recipe over to the stove, and we're going to get started. Okay, we're at the stove. This is where the rest of the recipe is going to go down. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my burner going here. I'm going to get a little bit of olive oil in here. The first thing we're going to do are the shallots. Now, the first thing I did was pour all of the chicken stock into a bowl and set it on low. You're going to want your chicken stock to be warm as we add it to the risotto. That's very important. I'm going to add a smidgen of salt. a smidgen of pepper. So you want it to be well seasoned. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of thyme here and let it steep in there. Okay, it's already getting warm. That is perfect. Can you throw me that towel? Thanks. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do are the shallots or onions, whatever you're using. I'm going to get those in here. We are just sweating those. We don't want to get any color on them whatsoever. Let those cook for a little bit. Okay, the onion's been cooking for a little while. We're going to add the mushrooms next. Get all in there. And you're going to want to make sure you're up at medium for the mushrooms. Let them cook for about, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds. So now we're going to add the garlic. Get out of there. Whoopsie. And the thyme. And we're going to mix this up. And we're going to add a little salt and pepper right now. And cook for about 3 minutes. The goal here was to get them soft, which they are. I'm spreading them out in the pan. And now I'm going to add the rice. I'm going to spread it out. And you're going to want to cook this rice until you start to hear it crackle. Now we're going to add the wine, which is going to help deglaze this. And we're going to mix until the wine has evaporated. Which shouldn't take too long. I have a very hot pan. I'm still smelling the wine pretty strongly, so I'm going to cook it down just a little bit more. So now we're going into about a 15-minute phase of adding stock, mixing, having it absorbed, adding stock, just doing it over and over again. So I'm going to add about enough stock to kind of cover the rice that's in here. It's probably going to be about 3 ladles. Let me get it in here. Okay, I think I'm going to add 1 more ladle. And you notice how I have the bowl really close to the pan, or not the bowl, the pans close to each other, and I've got a ladle in there. It makes it easier. So now I am going to just sit here and stir until all of this stock is absorbed by the rice. Okay, determining when your rice has gone dry is a balancing act, because you really don't want it to go dry. You don't want it to be so dry there's no moisture left, but then you don't want it to be too wet either. You're just going to have to trust your own judgment. I can see a little moisture in here, but not much, so I am making the decision to put some more. And I think each time here I'm going to put 2, possibly 3 in. I'm going to go with 2.5. And again, I stir. Okay, so I'm about to go in with some more stock, but I realized I didn't explain to you why the stock needed to be warm. The point of warming the stock is so that you don't reduce the temperature dramatically when you add the stock to the pan, because you've got a nice temperature going here with the risotto. If you added a cold stock to the pan, it would take it down and you'd have to bring up that temperature again. So by heating your stock, you don't do that. Okay, we're going to go in with a couple more ladles. Okay, we're on round 4 of adding stock, and you can see at this stage you should be able to see the rice starting to expand as it soaks up all of the stock, and I'm seeing that now, so that's a really good sign. So I'm going in with some more stock. And a stir. So I'm about halfway through, this is round 5, I've lost track, about halfway through, and now I'm going to get the asparagus going. I've got some olive oil heated up here. I'm putting some salt and pepper in the pan. And then I'm going to add the asparagus. What we want to do is just cook it a little bit, soften it, maybe give it a little bit of color. So I'm going to let this cook while I'm doing the risotto. And it is time for more stock and stirring. Asparagus is cooking up nicely. Somehow I'm managing to do 2 things at one time. And we're going in with some more stock. I think this is round 7. I don't know, I've lost track. Hopefully you've been keeping track. Oh, if you're having fun right now, and you go ahead, hit the like button. It will really help us out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. That would be really wonderful. I'm going to stir, and I'll be back when I need more stock. Okay, time for more stock. I am going to put this in and let the stock absorb, and then I'm going to do a tasting to see where we are, see what the crunchiness level of the rice is. And we still have the asparagus going. It's almost done, and when it's done, I'm just going to take it off the heat and leave it in the pan until I'm ready for it. The asparagus is done, and because I have a propane stove which burns really, really hot, I'm going to take it off the heat. You could probably leave it on the heat with the heat turned off if you don't have a propane stove, but I do, so that's what I did. And it's about time. I've got to mix some more. Almost time for more, but let's give this a taste and see where we are. Okay. Oh yeah, we're almost there. Now the goal is soft but still al dente. We're really close. I'm going to do one more round of stock, and I think we're going to be close. I've tried it. We are there. So I am going to now add in the asparagus and mix it up. Okay, and then the last step is we're going to add in the parsley and the nutritional yeast. But I also want to add a little bit more stock in here. I'm going to go ahead and turn my stock off. I want to turn the wrong burner off there. I'm going to do a couple ladles full. I might add the rest of it. We'll see. Okay, the parsley's going in. And I'm not sure how much nutritional yeast, so I'm just going to put a little in, and then I'm going to taste it. And at this stage, if you're looking a little dry, do not hesitate to put more of the stock in. I think I'm going to. I'm reserving that judgment. I'm actually going to go down to low so that it's not going to cook too much. So let's give this a try and see if I want to get a asparagus. A little bit more nutritional yeast in here. And I'm going to add a little more stock too. That's really looking fabulous and tasting fabulous too. You don't want your end risotto to be soupy in any way, but you don't want it to be dry either. It's kind of that happy medium, and I think we've achieved that. And once you take it off the stove, it's going to still continue to soak up some of the moisture, so you want to give it something to soak up. Okay. Let's give this one more try. I'm pretty sure seasoning-wise we're in a good place. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, that's really good. One more piece. Here we are with a risotto that even Gordon Ramsay would approve of, or at least I hope he does. If you can tolerate cow cheese, then by all means put half a cup of Parmesan in here if instead of nutritional yeast. If you can do goat or sheep, put a half cup of Pecorino Romano, which is what I typically do because I don't eat too much cheese. But the nutritional yeast is very delicious, and you will really not feel like you're missing any of the dairy with this dairy-free version. So a link to the full recipe is below in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could give us a thumbs up, that would be great. Subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, at gfexplorers.com, you can find this recipe and so many others. And until next time, happy eating. Uh-oh. That's a smooth surface, too.